Fasting has been around for ages, honestly. You might have heard it when you were a kid, or relatives that are trying to lose fat. They're like, oh, I'm gonna do this fast, or I'm gonna fast for a couple of days, or maybe, religious reasons, you might be fasting. Now, the thing is, a lot of us, we feel sharper, we feel amazing after doing a fast, right? But a lot of us, on the other hand, we get ravenous after just skipping lunch or, missing a meal or whatever. Well, today I want to explain exactly what happens when you fast, how you can use it to achieve your goals quicker, in just plain English, and why for some people it'll be much easier to sustain, it'll actually be more convenient, and why you should start doing it. Maybe it can actually fit your schedule, your goals, etc. Firstly, visualize your body like a hybrid car, right? Your body's main energy source for most people is going to be sugar in the blood slash glucose or glycogen. Now, whenever your body runs out of this, it'll switch over to, let's call it our second battery, which would be a phase called ketosis, where your body is actually burning fat for fuel. And for a lot of people that are wondering, yes, this is fat that we eat, like from avocados, salmon, stuff like that, as well as the fat that we store. So what happens when you fast is that you're basically going on a 12, 24 hour, let's say just for example, phase where you stop eating. Your body will very likely run out of glycogen, which is just glucose that's been stored, or all the glucose in your blood, which comes from sugar, eating carbs, all of that. Your body's basically going to, flush all of that out. It's going to be used up. Your body will basically have to go through that adaptation slash switch. So your body is basically flushed out of glycogen, flushed out of glucose, and your liver will actually start releasing ketones. Now, for most people, it'll actually go one of two ways from here. You'll either feel really, really sharp, a lot of mental clarity. You won't be, having cravings anymore. You won't even be thinking about food. You might even forget to completely eat until you start feeling bad again. Or number two, you'll be ravenous. You can't sustain it. You have to eat. You're craving carbs, etc. And your hormones actually change as well. Your insulin drops. Why? Because there's no more sugar in your blood, and your growth hormone actually increases to protect muscle. The reason why a lot of people will be fine when it comes to fasting is because your body's already very efficient at releasing ketones using fat for energy. Other people, your body is not so used to it, and that's because of your diet, because you might have a very high carb diet. You usually never go very long without eating. I don't know, maybe you've just always grown up eating a very, very big, hearty breakfast in the morning, so you're not used to it. So your body is just not very efficient at using the extra fuel that it has, which would be its fat stores. And although, yes, all of us have the ability to do that because that is how, we have developed as humankind, right? We store fat for energy. That's exactly what it is. It's just extra calories. Your body stores it. And it's just not very efficient at using it quickly for energy because it's just not a quick, available energy source. Glycogen and glucose is, which comes mainly from carbs and sugar. If you feel like you've tried fasting, you want to try it, go for it. There's a few different ways that you can do it. When it comes to the whole ketosis state, that's the way that most people do it, right? They do maybe like a 12-hour fast and 12-hour eating window, or an 18-hour fast and a 6-hour eating window, depending on how they feel. Kind of like the people that only eat once per day. That's usually the way that they do it, right? They do like the small ketosis cycles where, they have that 16-hour fast, usually around the 12-hour mark. Your body's completely depleted of glycogen and glucose. This will decrease your hunger, right? You'll be running on fat for fuel, and you won't have as many hunger cravings, and you only have a small window throughout the day to eat your calories. So this can be very beneficial if you're in a calorie deficit, you train later in the day, etc. However, I do not recommend you do this kind of fast if, let's say, you train early in the morning, because you want to have, especially if you don't plan on being on actual ketosis for a long time, you don't actually want to, completely cut out carbs from your system and never eat them. You don't want to do that, right? Why? Because your body's main energy source will still be carbs. You'll still be, running mainly on that. And usually if you're going to continue doing that, it's better if you have a lot of carbs before your workout, so that way you can push harder, stimulate more muscle growth. And that's the way that most people do it, right? They use a fast to cut their eating window, so that way it's easier for them to eat less calories, they have less cravings, and on top of that, they spend less time eating food, etc. Now, the second way is to actually go completely on ketosis. It's very, very hard in the beginning because you're completely cutting out carbs from your system. It's basically like a what people call a carb fast, where you can completely cut out food, like not eat anything for 24, 48 hours, so you completely get into ketosis faster. Or you can actually just go into ketosis, completely do a carb fast where you're not eating carbs, but you still continue eating fats and protein. This will allow your body to enter a state of ketosis for basically forever, where you completely make that switch and you keep it there. For example, me myself, I've been on ketosis for about around a week now. My body has gotten very, very much efficient. As the longer that you stay in ketosis, the more efficient that your body becomes at burning fat for fuel. It's a much more steady energy source, I will say that. I have a lot more mental clarity, I don't have cravings, and I feel like I can get a lot more done because I'm not thinking about food all the time, and I overall just eat less meals throughout the day, which gives me more time to work. The second option I would not recommend for anybody who has always, they love carbs, they just can never completely take them out, or they just don't see the point in having more mental clarity, focus, etc. That would be what is called ketosis, a keto diet. I'm currently on that. It's been amazing. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think I would go back to the regular diet. It's also just, I don't know, I feel like it's a lot more hardcore that your body is running on fat for fuel. And it's actually a lot easier to stay lean, not just because of the decreased cravings, less insulin spikes, meaning that I have more steady energy because my body's not releasing insulin, which is essentially what happens when you eat a big meal, especially full of carbs. You'll feel very low on energy afterwards. That's what a lot of people experience. I essentially don't get that. I have more of a steady energy supply. I'm able to stay more focused. I spend less time cooking and eating throughout the day. But for most people, it's probably going to be better to do the first option where you do, the daily fast, where you just basically enter ketosis for a little bit while you're, after your body burns through all of the glucose and glycogen. That's going to be a lot more realistic. Like, let's say, for example, you train later in the day, you do a 16-hour fast, and then you have that 8-hour window where you eat. 2 hours later, you hit the gym, and then for the rest of the day and nights, you don't eat until the next day. So you basically just have 1 or 2 meals during that 8-hour window, or 4-hour window, or 6-hour window, depending on how long you want to extend your fast. And yeah, that still gives you the ability to basically have best of both worlds. However, it just depends, varies from person to person. You can continue eating carbs that way. You are able to, stay in a calorie deficit easier because you only have that small eating window. And on top of that, you still get to save some time because you're not, eating throughout the day, etc. And you also get to do fasted cardio in the morning, which will also help with fat burning. But that I only recommend for people who train later in the evening, or that they just overall are really, really busy and they go long periods without eating either way. But anyways, guys, fasting is not magic. It is a tool, and if used correctly, it can definitely help you. Every person varies the schedule, their workout routines, what they want to achieve. I definitely would give it the experiment. If it's not for you, then it's not for you, right? Every person is different. It's just a tool. So that way your body is, instead of burning sugar, it's going to be burning its own fat for energy, which can sound amazing in the picture, but yeah, you really have to have mental toughness to be able to go through that. And if it's only going to make it harder for you to stick to your diet, then I wouldn't do it. At the end of the day, consistency beats perfection every single time. But yeah, if you guys would like to work one-on-one with me to see if maybe that's a method that you want to try to get you to your goals quicker, or even if you don't want to do that, you just want to work with me, click in the link in the description, and I'll reach out. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.